Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the #1 ranked Terran, the Frenchman from Team Liquid in the red. It's Clem. Up against the only Protoss who seems to be able to compete with him. In the blue, we have the mysterious MaxPax's. A best of 5 Terran versus Protoss Grand Finals. And once again, the kids' table is set. You've had your appetizer, but before I bring you your entree, could I first beg you to like and subscribe? And Jimmy, what are we? 1,318 likes on this video, on this cast, on this series, on this finals. I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Here we go again. Clem versus MaxPax's, the most aggressive, micro-intensive, and exhausting matchup in StarCraft 2. It's no Dark versus Beyond. Two grizzled old veterans willing to go hours only to reach an indistinct conclusion. But instead, it's sometimes impossible to tell whether the game will just end at the 4-minute mark, because both players rely on units that, when controlled essentially perfectly, could win the game themselves. And we already see that. Blink on the way for MaxPax's, who Reaper walled out to, well, just keep the Reaper on the other side so he could send an Adept, and that way get a bit more scouting info against Clem. And Clem, he's opting for a Medevac, a Cyclone. The Adept gets in. I don't know if that was an active choice, but he will lose at least one SCV. Make that 2. A third one targeted. A lot more than you can usually expect, but the Medevac is already on the way across the map, so we're not going to be slowing things down here too much. In fact, he wasn't able... I imagine he wanted to bring the Cyclone across, but instead has to use it back at home to defend. Angling towards the Reaper wall, maybe looking to use it against him, dropping on top of the Adept. First one shades away. There is a single Widow Mine in here that's going to make things difficult, dodging some of the Stalker shots with the Medevac, because of course he is. And the Cyclone, oh, Clem getting caught here. The Cyclone going the wrong way. A probe comes out, a sacrifice, blood for the machine god. As the Widow Mine, the angry, older, advanced cousin to the Spider Mine, of course. The Stalkers, one of them goes down, the probe sacrificed on the altar of the mine. Looking to get one more Stalker in the main. Clem making the most of what he has left over here. Blink 12 seconds out. 2 Marines just wander into the natural. War Prism on the way. Stalkers warped in to try to prevent the Marines from killing any probes. Won't be entirely successful. In fact, there's still one Marine, almost gets a second probe. And MaxPax's comes out of this. He's got a third base on the way. A solid cleanup. Clem ends up losing everything he sent across, whereas MaxPax's, a couple probes, a couple Stalkers. Overall, a strong defense, and now that'll translate into a dangerous offense for MaxPax's against Clem, who has 2 tanks, just finished a bunker. 1, oh, that's a bit... 2 siege tanks is twice the amount you can really deal with. But we're not done. An uncloaked Banshee comes in. There is no shield battery. Meanwhile, Stalker's into the main. Banshee cloak is about to complete. There is a robo, so we may be able to defend at home. A single tank sieges up. Marines to box out. More probes down. 6 of them so far. Observer helps deal with the Banshee. Cloak Banshee on Clem's side of the map will contribute dramatically to the defense, but it's not going to be enough to drive the Stalkers away entirely. Clem has almost even up the worker count. Observer will be chasing down the Banshee, and everybody is forced to calm down for 1 goddamn second. The aggression will subside, if only because neither player currently has quite enough to do a full attack. But MaxPax's found an angle. Alright, Clem a bit off-center here with the siege tank and not able to cover his entire base, but the Banshee and a reposition will deal with the Prism. They both have to go back, build up. Clem was a little supply block there, so slowed down the rest of his production. The worker count was almost even, but MaxPax's sees the opportunity to expand immediately after defending the first attack, and that was a huge deal when it comes to the worker count overall. In addition to that, he was able to delay more production and any attempts at additional command centers in the main. The Banshees are forced to cloak, using that extra energy just to activate it, and that means there won't be any real threat of Banshees coming across the map for at least a little while, besides the ones already there. Also kind of crazy to have 3 Banshees at all. The cloak, he could cloak a little bit longer, but there's an observer on the way anyways. He cloaks, tries to fight the Banshees, but MaxPax anticipated it, dodging, ends up killing 1 Stalker, but deflecting the Banshees. Another Banshee's coming in. I love the look of the reflection, or the you could see the wake on the Ghost River there, but no ghosts at the moment. So maybe he'll want some eventually. Blink Stalker, Banshee, Clem trying to get something done, but right now MaxPax has taken near full map control. He's got Charge on the way. He's going for the Templar Archives, which is a significant split from what MaxPax has done very much recently. I think he's easing back in towards the... Well, Estrella is another player who really likes Storm against Terran. Just Clem's Ghost Control in the past, and just his general bio. If you don't kill units with Storm, they're just going to get healed up and come back as strong or stronger. But this time around, MaxPax is choosing Storm as his first flavor of splash damage to spice things up. And the Storm can be a devastating choice. It also complements the charge lots, as well as the Blink Stalkers a little better than going for Robo-Bay, especially the charge lots, as you're already using many of those minerals. Colossi, as well as Disruptors, are much more mineral intensive. The charge lots, on the other hand, work well with the Templar, using the gas left over. And the Stalkers over to the right flank, Warp Prism to the left, Banshee chasing the Prism. Keeping a weird amount of tabs on it. The Banshee actually cloaks, dodging that last shot. There's no observer here. Combat shield about to complete. Clem chasing down the army. And they both continuing such high levels of production despite the constant aggression. And now Clem has the army supply bearing down. 81 to 81. A few less workers here. Okay, 17 less workers, but... Now landing a third, Clem, trying to hold on to everything. We'll see if MaxPax can do the same. And that army is in a pretty tough-to-break position. There's a bunch of Widow Mines under the tanks. Even if he has an observer, he may not notice the Widow Mines under the tanks unless he's watching carefully. There are 10 mines with the army. Cloak Banshee, intimidated. Those Zealots might jump up and slap it out of the sky. Unfortunately, they're unable to do so. I think more of a reflex than anything. Jockeying for position in the center of the map. Not finding it. Meanwhile, single Marine spots the 4th base. Banshee still hanging out at the back. Observer still babysitting it. Meanwhile, the Storm Hammer. The Prism is ready. Fully loaded with High Templar. I don't think he's revealed them yet. But... that Prism going to be quite conspicuous as time goes on. Here come the Widow Mines. Or, well, really, they burrow down. They don't move very quickly underground, thankfully. Maybe next patch. 4th base for MaxPax is the real kicker here, though. MaxPax now has 10 gates. He's got a second Robo. He's already got a Robo Bay, and he's building Colossi with extended thermal lance. So he's filling in that second form of splash damage that makes it an order of magnitude harder to deal with. But there are the Storms on top of the Widow Mines. The mines return fire. Medivacs taking the brunt of the damage. But not enough to kill any significant amount of the bio, but enough to force the switch into Ghosts out of Clem. They're now in production. And the longer he takes to make that switch, the easier it's going to be for MaxPax to get a critical mass of Colossi Disruptors and just enough production to sandbag Clem until he can break them entirely. Ground weapons level 2. Another base spotted. MaxPax might be willing to give that one up. Possibly should if Clem is able to get into position. But now, looking for the Storms. There are the Templar, but the Ghost can't EMP him in the Prism. Thus, the usage of the Prism. This base will finish. Just had to cut the ribbon on it. Meanwhile, the War Prism above tries to target it. Not going to find all of it. Storms wash over the front line, but the Medivacs will heal the back. And, oh, the charge lot's still getting a lot of damage done. Ghosts come out to help clean it up, and the Nexus is going to go down. Supplies dead even. Extended thermal lamps almost complete. MaxPax circling around, trying to attack before the Widow Mines are able to burrow. Mostly successful on that front, and the Widow Mines are drawn in towards the siege tanks as well. But Clem takes another victorious fight out on the field, but he loses some economy back at home. 59 to 77 workers. MaxPax put that base out there, hoping for the best, but it definitely was one he wasn't committed to compared to the 4th. And now he expands again over to the 20 position as his Colossi blazing a trail through the front. Oh, and it gets the Prism. Only one storm comes out. Is there enough for another? No, it goes down. And meanwhile, EMPs combined with Vikings and the Colossi being knocked to the deck. The Templar washed off the field, and the Gateway army pales in comparison to the strength of the Bioball rolling across the map. He scans the base. He has a target. The tank siege up again. The medevac count has been whittled down. He only has 3 of them. He's been focused on the Vikings, which means not all the Bio army is able to heal up between these fights. And that is possibly the most important part of this. MaxPax continuing to play this zone defense against Clem. He's not letting him across the map. And that means he can use his economy to greater effect. But Clem is about to finish +2/+2. That means his Bio army will actually be better upgraded than the Protoss ground army at the moment. Widow Mines will blunt the effect of the run by. +2/+1 done. MaxPax turning it around. He's about 30 seconds away from having the upgrade advantage yet again, but another Widow Mine cleared up. Clem came all the way back to defend, which actually opened up some of the map. He left the Ghosts, the Vikings, and the Siege tanks, though, which is going to make it very difficult. The Banshee's back! And a slow warping, but the Banshee gets cleaned up. Wasn't cloaked. The Observer actually moved away. I don't know if that was just select army hockey or he thought he had an opportunity, but anyways, the Banshee lived that long. Here come the Ruptors, though, a bit dangerously close. Fires off a volley. The double barrel, not finding that much, but a fadeaway shot. Curves in. Doesn't quite get to the Ghost. +1 ship weapons, +2 ground armor. For Clem and MaxPax, respectively. The Ghosts and Vikings. But the Disruptors underneath, not actually firing off shots while the charge lots are still here. Target firing the Colossi, but Clem comes in with a flank, looking for the Ruptors. But the Bio army's starting to thin out. Vikings hit the deck, and a chaotic fight in the center of the map. MaxPax will retreat, but I don't think it's a rout. He's just trying to join up with more Disruptors, relying on the level of production here. The smaller the battle is, well, it really depends on the army compositions. But in this case, just a few bio units can be picked off. That Disruptor count is growing dramatically, and there's no Liberators on the field. Another shot. Charge lots picking off some of the stragglers. Another dangerous force field flung out. And MaxPax is just using these in order to shove Clem out of his own base. The zone defense from the Disruptors, indeed. Another Observer's taken out. Clem suspected it, considering how well that MaxPax was maneuvering around the fight. The Ghosts are caught on the wrong side of the battle here. The Purification Novas continually waving in his face, unable to get back to his own base. More Stalkers warped in. More Disruptors. EMP looking to pop some of them. Another couple shots. Gets a connection. The EMPs were good, but the Disruptor count may be too damn high, as MaxPax just carves his way through these small amounts of bio units, and Clem didn't have the Liberators in time. He didn't have the defense, and MaxPax kept control of the situation. Honestly, it's like trying to, it's almost, wow, he lost 100 Zealots. Didn't even really feel like it, but he just kept throwing them at him. And eventually they broke through. MaxPax with a masterful defense there. Almost like a matador waving a flag? A carpet? I don't know, whatever the cape in front of the bulls. With Clem, in this case, being the bull charging him. And every time, though, he pulls it just barely away. And Clem eventually caught just slightly out of position. And MaxPax is able to drive the point home. MaxPax with a solid game one. Clem dangerous at every point, but not quite able to break through. That brings us to a 1-0 lead. We're going to Golden Ore. Really just the biggest mistake you can make, I think, in Protoss versus Terran, which we've seen time and time again, is thinking if you win a fight, that translates into victory. Oh my. Where if you lose your Colossi or your Disruptors or your Templar, and then just trying to overpower a Terran, you need those core splash damage units. You've seen that time and time again. Oh my god. Wow. The probe. Wow, this is the most annoying probe. It's damaged. Critically damaged. The recall! Can't catch me. I love it. Economically dubious, emotionally empowering. That recall there. Great choice. Natural on the way. There's the Reaper wall for MaxPax's. The Reaper will be forced in the front, and that means the Adept will be out for a meet and greet. Gonna try to zone it out and then carry it across the map to get the early scout. I think the Reaper wall is key just to limit the options for the Reaper so you can get the Adept across the map. I'm not a huge fan of it in general, as it creates a liability later on, but MaxPax's has the timing so figured out to a obscene extent that it allows him to get the information he needs without being too much of a liability. And controlling variables is, again, the most important thing against Clem. You cannot let him have options, as any one of them is deadly. You need to know exactly what he's doing, ideally before he's doing it, and then maybe, as we saw in the last game, you can deal with it. I say deal with it one more time. Handle it. I don't know. Come up with it. The words mean things, but some of the words mean similar things, and you got to mix those in for variety. Very important. It's like titles, okay? Just because they're doing the same strategy for the 17th time this year, and it's been 8 years of that strategy, doesn't mean we can't come up with some new, slightly different clickbait. Meanwhile, Adept gets in, actually going to stop the starport from landing. Again, the Adept slips through to finish the work the probe started. The citizens arrest. The SCVs body block out for their brethren. But overall, another surprising, I'm gonna say, mistake out of Clem. You don't want to let the Adept, you don't want to lose SCVs, you don't want to get your starport delayed, you don't want to get your entire base scouted. Okay, no amount of voyeurism is going to make that different. And here comes a good old-fashioned Whittle mine drop. Blink, not quite done. Mines will burrow. He, retargeting. Actually gets a Stalker. Definitely worth it. A lot of mining time lost. Meanwhile, a Reaper in the third. Another mine at the natural. Blink will be done. Oh my god, some Prairie Dog micro here. Gets another. He's going to try to get out. Blink. Honestly, that half second on Blink may have been the difference between the medevac living and being lost. So the Whittle mine drop, it isn't critical damage in this case. He killed a Stalker, killed a probe. A lot of mining time, clearly, lost there. And it's still a threat at the back. It anchors some of those Stalkers. They're just pinned back, having to deal with it. Not a huge threat, but if you let it go, obviously Whittle mines can devastate your entire economy. Raven heading in. This is an old build, and by old I mean like a year now, but it checks out. The Whittle mine into Raven, just trying to keep all those options open, though sending the Raven and now has pinned it back. Just using all this air. Wait, where did the medevac go? Did he lose it? Oh. My god, I didn't even see it on the minimap. It's not even on the minimap. How can I be expected? Yeah, it's literally, it's so close to the corner of the map, it's off of it. That's a lot of bio there. The Stalkers not going to be able to compete with that in a heads-up fight, which is why they blink away. picking off a surprising amount of Marines here, but the Stalkers obviously don't want to compete with the siege tanks. Yeah, I have a tougher time with that one. Coming around for more. Very important not to. Even the Raven doesn't show up on the minimap. Am I crazy? I'm not crazy. Not really mutually exclusive. Anyways. Raven comes in, auto turrets, targeting. The Stalkers are actually, and meanwhile the mine drop at the same time he's looking the other way. Oh no! 8 kills between them. Gonna burrow the mine again, buying as much time as possible. Clem now. Moving the army across the map. And MaxPax's, he does have the probe count, but Clem is committed to this 2-base timing. He's just now taking a third. It's all just this older style, but still. Just have to keep checking back. It's not there. All right, wait, what? When I bring this up, I can see it. Oh, I see. Okay, I am crazy. Right at the very edge. I think my monitor's miscalibrated. Not important right now. So I'm losing a few pixels down there. Combat shield about to complete. Clem with the tank push bearing down. A war prism's coming in. Anything he can do to keep Clem busy at home. +1 infantry weapons is done. Third command center, not even being scouted by MaxPax's. A bit accidental, but will end up delaying it slightly. Them building it on location for that extra benefit, but will be slowed down. Should be more SCVs coming up soon. Meanwhile, dueling with the bio army, trying to keep it busy. And the longer he can buy time here, the more he can build up and potentially flank. Clem's just backing off. He's realizing the tide is turning when it comes to the amount of units on the field, and doesn't want to be caught out and drowned in charge lots. Viking finds the prism. Will he try a recall here? Yes. Slides into the recall, gets that little bit of extra acceleration in order to get away from the Viking with no damage to the hull. Dark Shrine on the way. The DTs, a solid choice. MaxPax's 65 to 55 workers. Clem still has a dangerous amount of army supply. The Stalkers find a medevac, but eat a tank volley. Army's moving around. Will MaxPax's be able to hold on to his 4th base? It's taking a lot of damage very quickly. Charge Lot's cutting off the reinforcements. The reinforcements, oh, actually moving the wrong way. Move command. He may have had enough, but he was distracted by the charge lots on the 3rd. And MaxPax's taking a solid fight. A lot of the SCVs softened up. Eventually the charge lots will be cleaned up. The 4th base was taken out. That Dark Shrine, not quite done yet. MaxPax's now with a Colossus. Oh, has to move out in front. Eats big. Widowmine hits charge lots at the back, though. Flanking the tanks, minimizing the damage. And with the Colossus here, he's able to pick off one more medevac. Going for 2. Finds it. Force fields. But who's locked in with who? Clem arcs out. Tries to target the Immortals enough. Gets a couple extra Marauders. And MaxPax's keeping him busy. 5 SCVs down. Widowmine's taken out. Into the main. The charge lots are slicing. And 7 more being warped in. While Clem took a winning fight on the field, he was a bit distracted. The Raven's still alive, going for the probes. Meanwhile, charge lots inside the house. Widowmine splashes over medevacs and zealots alike. MaxPax's has said he's got 2 Stalkers chasing. The Viking desperately tried to chase the prism, still not coming up with it. And where are we now? What? MaxPax's is down 30 supply. Well, that went much less than it looked. I think the Raven adding up the worker kills during this, as well as every single one of those charge lots died. Okay, it bought a lot of time, it killed some SCVs, but he didn't kill very many actual units on the field. Clem was able to retreat with much of his army. So the DTs, though, slipping into each base. There's no turrets, and there's only one scan. Oh, this is disastrous. Even though the charge lots were cleaned up, the DTs are going to be a lot harder to deal with. More in the third. Eats the hits on the charge lots. Are there any ghosts? There are some ghosts. He could EMP. Cleaned up in the main. I think he had to EMP that Dark Templar. But the delay here is dramatic. And this will allow MaxPax's to build up his Colossus count. And there's one thing that Clem really can't... Clem has not really been mining. He hasn't been able... Multiple bases have been stuck not mining. Knocks out the Prism, but there's still another Dark Templar. He has to use the scans, which will cut down on the income, and now MaxPax's has 8 gates. Honestly, a little low for this scenario. 77 probes, and he just has to survive. There's another DT. Whips out an EMP. He's using the ghost energy to deal with the Dark Templar. Clem does have a 4th base, but MaxPax's has now made up that 30 supply gap and is almost even. Though the army supply still goes heavily in favor of the Frenchman because the worker count's there. As time goes on, MaxPax's is keeping great control of the situation. Still though, he just targets the battery. We'll take it out. The Raven is still going. There's no way to deal with it without a Stargate, if he's careful. That's still a lot of bio on the field. How many? 4 Colossi. There's some ghosts, some Vikings. Supplies are dead even. So evenly matched. Single Marine spotting the base. MaxPax's, again, just like last game, he took a 4th base and then it got killed. Okay, or 4th or 5th base. And then he just expanded the other direction. Just stuck with it. I think mentally, it's hard to, go into MaxPax's game for a moment there. It's hard to, you expect them to re-expand to the same base, is what I'm saying. And Clem kind of fallen prey to that. Didn't really put any effort in to dealing with the base to the south. Of course, MaxPax's made sure his attention was focused elsewhere throughout much of this.
We embrace the glory of battle.
It's like battle being embraced yet again. DT blink on the way. So MaxPax's isn't done with the Dark Templar quite yet. The charge lots battling. +2 versus 1-1. Clem working on 2-2. +1 armor is now on the way. For the Protoss. A DT just sliding past. Oh, he EMPs it. Catches a medevac with his EMP as well. The pocket scan. Scan on the base. I think he saw the Immortals sticking out of the army. Scans that as well. Just a bit too thick. And spotted the army with the rest. Clem maxed out. MaxPax's maxed out. Paxing up his army and moving towards the right flank. The Vikings out in front. Disruptor shot, though. Hits the ghosts. There's still a few ghosts on the back line, but the force fields combined with the Ruptors doing a great job of zoning out the Vikings. And splitting the army with the force fields. MaxPax's has also expanded to the bottom left. Is there another prism? No, but Dark Templar in position, as well as observers, maintaining some vision. Blinks out of a Widow Mine. No chance of drilling claws to maintain the Widow Mine cloak after firing. Another incredible game that is just on a knife's edge right now. Clem's army can beat any Protoss army. But only if MaxPax's is unable to dismantle any key parts of it. If he takes out the Vikings, the Colossi reign supreme. If he deals with the ghosts, well then the gateway units are great. And the disruptors, of course, an existential threat to everyone involved, besides the disruptors themselves. More shots. Clem taking a decent fight as MaxPax's getting some of his supply whittled away, hitting the Colossi over the top. Stalker's not quite in position to defend. Huge DT counter. Looking for that big blink in, but these Widow Mines to help zone out. Does he have detection for it? He's going to come into detection range, but blinks over the top of the bunker, going to chase Clem down. It's so hard to take a fight while you're also dealing with anything at home. And MaxPax's army is looking for an opportunity. The DTs will be cleaned up eventually, but they bought him the time and the space he needed to deal with it. Meanwhile, Disruptor shot, zoned out, but the Vikings able to knock down a Colossus. Just one remains. Another Disruptor shot up to the top, but doesn't find anything. Clem still struggling to find an angle, but MaxPax doesn't have that much money in the bank, and he has quite a fragile unit composition. Mass Dark Templar about to blink. Did he spot it? Disruptors on the center. They're dueling again. Auto turrets. All 4 auto turrets at the back. DTs onto the planetary. Armies pulled away from one another, but the planetary is sliced to pieces, to shreds, I say. But an attempt to get Archons is melted, evaporated by the EMPs. That cost MaxPax a lot in order to take out the planetary, and he has to capitalize on it before Clem can recover. Right now, he's able to press the point home. There is no 5th base out of Clem. He's bottled up on that high ground location. Well, bottled up might not be the right term as he surrounds the army. Knocks down the last Colossus. Vikings can hit the deck, dodging disruptor shots. One finds a connection. Another curveball into the center mass. EMPs still chasing things down. MaxPax is trying to buy as much time as possible. Another wave of charge lots is warped in. And Clem unable to cut his way through to a base, at least quite yet. 3-3 is about to complete. So any unit that is not obliterated by disruptors will be incredibly capable of dealing with stalkers and zealots. Unfortunately, though, for Clem, there are so many disruptors to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, and now the charge lots are coming in towards the 3rd again. The zealotling run-bys. More disruptor shots, just trying to catch Clem off guard. He's forcing him back towards the 4th. Another volley. And Clem is losing important chunks of his army and is losing the ability to replace them. That Raven has 22 kills. The Disruptor, a split second away from earning 2 Gs. There's still more, though. There are 9 Disruptors on the field, 8 DTs, the double Ds of destruction still going strong as Clem comes around the corner and tries to force a fight, but that connection slams into the Marines and Marauders. The charge lots on top of the SCVs. The Whittle Mines will be cut down at great cost. More Ruptors. Leans into the shots. Doesn't quite find it. That's a big one. 150 supply. The fadeaway. 3 more ghosts. Just a single G out of Clem. A frustrating loss. It wasn't intentional, but again, MaxPax controls the situation. He keeps Clem just barely contained, and he's able to hold it down until eventually he can knock him out. The Dark Templar serving exactly the purpose they needed to, buying time and space while limiting the economy. They do what charge lots cannot. They force out detection, the scans, the EMPs, the things that you need either economically in mules or scans to position your army against the Protoss. Neither of those things available when you're constantly dealing with the DTs. So MaxPax with some masterful Dark Templar play. It's an art, all right. And the Shrine to Dark is always an important one. The Dark Arts, if you would. Well, Game 3. MaxPax. Yes, sound it out. Match point. MaxPax match point. Say that 5 times. I'm not gonna do it. MaxPax match point. MaxPax match. Like and subscribe. 2-0. I'm sure MaxPax already wishing this was the European regional finals, where he was really well. What Clem was. I think the key difference I'm noting here between this and the regional finals is Clem always seemed to get damage early. Essentially, every single game that Clem won in those finals was Clem getting in and getting damage done before even something like Blink could finish. He has been unable to... DT... Okay, sorry. He reaches for the Shrine of Dark once again. And this time it's first. No blink, just a robo. It's going to be a straight up TT drain. He's like, they work so well. Why don't we just go for that? Double Adept Shades. Threatening multiple angles. Meanwhile, Clem sends out the medevac, and he's hiding the Hellions. This time, an Adept hasn't gotten in. Almost. If they shade through, the Hellions can kill him. This is a completely different style than we've seen. Kills one. But the drop is coming in. The Stalker's in position. There's no shield battery, which actually means medevacs. Marines with a medevac are possibly enough to do real damage. 5 kills, 6, 7 probe kills, and the Hellions are still threatening here. So, with a Raven on the way, there's a War Prism coming across, but MaxPax's, in going for that Dark Shrine, has kind of hamstrung himself against these early attacks. And now he needs to get damage done, but the problem is, there's going to be a Raven on the way. When you rush Dark Templar, this is much more likely to be the scenario. There is no Raven out. He can drop the DTs. He wanted to be as careful as possible. Well, the awkward part is, yeah, the DTs can fight. Just because you can see him doesn't mean you can kill him. Well, here we go again. The Raven's about to pop out. He forces a scan. Well, yeah, the side effect of it is they hit so early, there's actually not enough units to kill the DTs. There's enough, well, there's not going to be quite a scan. He may be able to kill the Marines from the bunker. Oh, no. More DTs. Actually loses one, but gets the double depot. So, despite the early damage, the Dark Templar are dictating the pace of the game yet again. He's gonna go into Archon drops behind and following up with Blink instead of Charge. Interesting. Usually you'll see just some extra charge lots thrown in, though Blink gives you a lot more maneuverability. It is clearly more fragile. As Stalker's not known for their hardiness. The Archon's fighting the tanks and mostly winning, but tanks can be repaired, as demonstrated there. Hellion shut down, and MaxPax's keeping absolute control of the situation. If that Warp Prism dies, with 2 Archons inside, that control dissipates with it, but map control is still in favor of the Protoss. And Clem is going to have to come up with a time. He doesn't have a third. MaxPax's is now finished up with his 3rd Nexus. All he had is Stim and +1 are on the way. Combat Shield a long way off. There are no upgrades at all for Clem, so here comes MaxPax's looking to take advantage of the Blink to actually end the game here. Or at least do critical damage. There's only a single siege tank in the natural. Now pulling back, trying to eat shots with the Adept. A little bit late on the Blink Stalkers, but will take out the tank. And now the Raven itself can be targeted. It is. The Archon's out in front. The Warp Prism straying in towards the turret. Oh no! Oh no! He lost the Prism with both Archons! Oh my god! Well, of all the units to be the MVP in this game, I didn't expect the missile turret to be on the list. But the missile turret, he miscalculated by that much. 20 probes are dead now to the... With 2 Archons, MaxPax's may very well win the game and claim a 3-0. But he gets a little bit too fancy. And Chad the missile turret comes in with the most significant kill of the series so far. No, not a ghost, not a liberator, not a disruptor, but a missile turret wiping out a Warp Prism with 2 Archons being juggled into it. And now, well, Clem did terrible, terrible damage with his medevac drop. MaxPax is in a bit of an awkward spot. He has the economy, but a single Colossus, well, there goes the battery. A single force field strongly discourages the Marauders, but does not stop them. The Stalkers are out in the field, not dealing with anything at home. Clem? Kind of yanking himself out. And Marauders are just embarrassing the not-so-charged knots. Running around in literal circles, as the Zealots can't really do anything about it. The Medevac's looking to be The Stalkers are intercepting the Medevac's, to be clear. And... oh no, all four. Well, looks like both... he missed the opportunity to outright kill it, so he loses a Stalker, but both Medevac's go down, as both players suffering critical blows, and we're only at 9 minutes in the game. It almost evens out. That the timing and the situation of the Archon Prism loss, though, was much more critical than a few extra Marauders and a couple Medevacs. Still, a painful blow, though, for Clem. Because MaxPax right now, his army, the complexity of the army is pretty mediocre. He lost his Colossus, he lost those Archons. He still has the Dark Shrine, by the way. I wonder if this is one of those games where he rebuilds a Dark Shrine because he forgot he had it. I think he'll remember if the time is right. DT is still useful in the later game, even if your opponent is prepared. You gotta keep him honest with him. Clem, though, building up. He has close enough in the worker count, so mules are putting him over the top economically. Another double drop headed in towards the main. And MaxPax without that much left to defend. Does he have he doesn't even, he has recall off cooldown, but no energy in the main. Or the natural. Oh no, he has to scramble back. Already lost 6 probes. Well, he might have to rebuild the Dark Shrine because he ends up losing it. But Clem just a revolving door of drops. Has to blink out of the mine. Greedily drops again in the corner, thinking maybe he can fight. But MaxPax's down to 55 probes. The Stalkers looking to intercept, but again, the dead space over the water means that he's not going to be able to kill the Medevacs until they come back into weapons range. Well, we got triple Colossus. Oh no, the Stalkers targeted the Medevac. The Colossi might be enough to ward away the main army. But the drop in the main is... oh, he's not even warping in any DTs. I think MaxPax may have forgotten about his Dark Shrine. It'd be very helpful to just have one DT for drop defense. The Ghosts deal with the charge lock counter. Stalkers blink forward. MaxPax still doing a lot with what little he has back at home. And 3 Colossi are enough to shove away the army. But Clem has been dictating the pace of the game thus far. And that is a marked difference from the first 2 matches, where MaxPax was keeping control of the situation. Which means now MaxPax is on very thin ice. That won't take much to crack. This army is strong, but big asterisk there. EMPs, a couple Vikings, and just a bad angle. And it can crumble easily to the bio that Clem has on the table. If you can concentrate it on one angle, coming down a ramp, throw a force field or 2. There's the Guardian Shield. Gonna try to fight here. The charge lot's coming in, but Clem actually fighting this. Coming back, and the charge lots are gone. The bio army is chasing down the Colossi, chasing down 2 Gs, and Clem, well, is on the board. Well, the Dark Shrine good, and a strong, honestly, if he didn't lose the Prism, then we could be looking at a different and shorter series. But a bit of hubris there from MaxPax, juggling those Archons into the Prism while it's under missile turret fire and overestimating how many hits it could take by just that much. And that brings us to our game 4. MaxPax's playing a great series. Still, though, that is, it sticks out as MaxPax's Jimmy! Sorry. Like and subscribe so I can get real help. It sticks out as the only major mistake that MaxPax has made throughout this series. He's played... Yeah, sure, there may be little micro mistakes here and there that are almost impossible or even just subjective. But he has played an immaculate series. Especially considering how much pressure Clem is able to put on. He recalls knowing the exact timing of that Reaper right after 2 minutes. He's too able to put on such fun games. Honestly, Terran versus Protoss can be a very polarizing matchup, where sometimes it feels like both sides sit back, build up, fight, and somebody wins. Whereas here we see constant poking and prodding, multi-pronged pressure. The stakes are incredibly high on each of the fights. Once disruptors and ghosts get involved, each fight can be game-ending. But they still somehow come out near even almost all of the time. I think even more so than any of the matchups involving Zerg. Because Zerg, you have all these units that are easily replaceable, relatively weak. Whereas Protoss can sometimes play the same way, but their units are way more expensive. Like a Dark Templar is as costly as a ghost itself. Almost. 25 minerals less. Can potentially kill dozens of workers, or 10 of them can just die. You never send 10 ghosts out on their own. It's going to be Stargate, by the way. Instead of talking about more meta parts of it, maybe we should talk about the game itself. This time around, MaxPax reaches for the Stargate for the first time in the series. Cyclone push to start things off. Clem going to use a very technical opener to try to keep MaxPax from building up his comprehensive response. And I know I'm saying a lot of buzzwords here, but we're going to circle back and see whether the Cyclone is enough to stall out the Phoenixes. So I don't think there's enough. I don't think that's enough units. 3 Phoenixes, especially if he's able to isolate any more units. Yeah, Clem's just got to back off. That's not enough. The key part is there's only 1 gate. He's reliant entirely on the Phoenixes. Now there are 2 Cyclones. No Reaper Wall to use and abuse this time, though. So, a cancel on a second shield battery. MaxPax feeling confident enough here. Phoenix is looking to cut off whatever reinforcements they can. So far, done a good job of it. There's a Robo-Bay, a 2-base Robo-Bay, a very tense game. This time around, Clem is taking his third very quickly. Whereas MaxPax is working on his unit composition. So, a split from the previous ones as well. He's just going to fight the Vikings, which are being repaired from the ground. Well, that's awkward. Now, the tank as well is being repaired from the ground. I think he can... Yeah, well, just go for the SCVs. Gonna run out of energy. They've reached their preset kill limit. But now Clem scrambles back. Everything will be scattered. That's another benefit of going for the Phoenixes, is you can see everything. What you do about it, that's up to you, but... MaxPax able to get his third up now. Still has a slight worker lead. And, well, the Phoenix has helped out a lot with that. looking to make some progress. How many Phoenixes? Wow, 8 Phoenixes. Clem not looking to be outdone. He's got still 4 Vikings, despite his early loss. He just fired a volley. Guys, I know you're frustrated. Fires off a volley at his own command center. MaxPax's finishing up that Nexus. Working on extended thermal lance, but Clem now has enough Vikings to be possibly too threatening here. The Colossus kites back. Tank on the ground, another tank. Both tanks lifted during the fight. MaxPax's trying to brawl it out, but that's just too much anti-air. The Vikings, the real victors here. A few of them getting picked off, but chasing down the Colossus. He's not going to be able to target him down in time. Takes out the last Colossus, knocking out more Vikings. MaxPax's is trying to play this kind of technical zone defense style, but this is more of a man-to-man sort of offense here. Anyone else like sports ball? MaxPax's has an army that's designed to build a death ball, but he tried to just shove in against an army that was clearly a direct counter to it. And now Clem is chasing him across the map, which is giving MaxPax's an opportunity to turn the tables yet again. But the Vikings, a strong response, and more than enough to deal with it. I think MaxPax's overextended dramatically there. He ends up losing 6 of his Phoenixes to Colossi, and now Clem is right back in it. You can see the logic. MaxPax's went to zone out the third base, but he overestimated the capabilities of the Phoenixes. He didn't have any upgrades on the ground. I mean, neither does Clem in this scenario, just the basic one. But now Clem is able to get his third base up. He has the Vikings. He even had a little space to build medevacs now, where he was only building Vikings before. And MaxPax's is, he's got a 4th. I think he might go for a 5th here, expanding almost like a Zerg. And Blink is on the way. Ghost Academy for Clem as he works his way up the tech tree. Second Robo. More gates. Gonna be looking at 7 or 8. And a second Forge as well, as MaxPax's just adding on the rest of the tech tree. Should be seeing a Templar archives? Maybe a Dark Shrine. Momentarily. As we head that way. Well, maybe he just wants to go for the mass robo style, which has historically, at least in the last year or so, been MaxPax's favored sort of strat. Over the High Templar or the even the Dark Templar play. The Dark Templar definitely have their place. +2 ground weapons, +1 ground armor, and charge for MaxPax's. Meanwhile, Clem, he's building his 4th command center in the center. He's built up to 162 to 147 supply. He's got +1 ground weapons for his infantry, but he has no other upgrades in production. No +1 armor. He has an armory technically done, but he's focused entirely on building the right unit composition. Lots of Marauders, plenty of Marines, some Widow Mines scattered in, Vikings overhead, and a couple Ghosts sprinkled in to the composition. MaxPax's expanding to the north. He's got the rich Vespine base in his sights and a Dark Shrine in production in the main. As he chrono boosts out both those upgrades, charge as well in production. Clem stutter stepping his way past the watchtower, finding several of the stalkers on his way there. The Vikings zoned out. The surviving Phoenixes are with the army. Double Ruptor on the way, but Clem is nearly maxed out and he's ready to go. Actually finds his way up the ramp towards the third. MaxPax's slightly out of position. Guardian Shield, though, with the Colossi will shove Clem away, at least for now. MaxPax's blinks out of the mines at the initial part of the fight. Charge lots get in. Wait, they're not so charge lots. They just waltzed in. And Clem didn't have the depots raised, and he mined out that mineral patch. I assume Clem did that. There's a chance a probe came across. But it looks like Clem is looking to expand there as well. Vikings on deck with some bio. Gonna deal with the Zealots on the other side. Vikings. Clem loads up. 4 medevacs. Does MaxPax have any vision? He knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. He's got some spylons. So Clem likely won't be able to head all the way towards the main with this. The spylons will discourage him. He could potentially just threaten both sides. He will scan the main. The stalkers will be warped in. This is not going to deter him. The upgrades mercifully finish here for MaxPax, who's scrambling all the way back to defend. DT's cleaned up. The main army trying to zone out the front, but the Vikings intercept the Colossus. The shield battery taken down. The disruptors are on site, trying to chunk through. Main base, eventually the drop will be cleaned up here. Picks up, goes the other side. Vikings hit the deck. Disruptors, the Vikings lift up out from underneath the Raptors. Gonna lose a couple. The Nexus itself under fire. The Bio Army in the main is cleaned up. The Medevacs may survive. Nexus taken down. More Disruptors. Fade away shot. Finds just a couple Marines. Another shot to ward them away. The Medevacs will be cleaned up in the main. DTs getting 11 SCV kills. And MaxPax's Dark Templar and Clem scans the north. And that base is so important. Clem scans it immediately. He uses one of his few scans. Does he have any scans? He only has one more. The DTs again undercutting any gains that Clem made out on the map. He still has the workers, but he's forced to use all these scans. He lost the momentum from the drop. He killed a base, but MaxPax still has the disruptor count. I don't know if we've seen a single liberator in this entire series so far from Clem, which is a bit uncharacteristic as well. +1 ship weapons is on the way. MaxPax starts his +3 attack. The Viking count. Alright, 9 of them. Enough to ward away the Colossi, but not that helpful against the Raptors. Clips a Marauder. Dueling in the center of the map. More Disruptors. Clem's also expanding. They're both expanding towards each other. It's got to come to a head here soon. The Marauders chunking through the Nexus. The DTs on the Planetary Fortress. The Bio Army against everything but the Raptors. But the DTs slice through the Planetary. Both sides losing a base. MaxPax left with one more. The Raptors in position. Everything cleaned up to the north. Clem with another command center. Observer spots the whole army doing this. MaxPax has done an incredible job of keeping vision. Disruptors. 10 SCVs dead. Another DT comes in. A dozen in total. Clem still has the army supply. Liberators with advanced ballistics in production. Clem finally reaching for the libs. A Viking fighting a Zealot with a Phoenix standing by. There's something odd about this. The Zealot does win. Stalkers blink. Ghosts return fire with EMP. DTs waiting for their opportunity. Some slipping in towards the third. Clem still dueling the Disruptors in the center. The DTs come in towards the third again. Anything to drag the attention away. 6 Liberators at a time. DTs still slicing through and now getting a real amount of SCVs. 20, 22. More Disruptors. They clip the Marauders on the way back. Clem dipping in supply. No longer able to keep that 200. +2. He's bleeding out units. Well, they're being cauterized, but the DTs, careful not to be too crazy about it. MaxPax now with money in the bank. He's got Disruptors everywhere. He doesn't have a... Oh, he does have a Stargate because that's what he started the game with. In fact, he still has a Phoenix or two just in case. Still left over. And he has the ability with him to deal with the Advanced Ballistics Liberators. And he may very well need it. The Liberators starting to siege up. But Disruptor shots up to the north side. Clem opening up the way here. The SCVs somehow survived the volleys. +2 ship weapons about to complete. We got a fleet beacon on the way for Clem. Or not for Clem. That would be impressive. MaxPax adding it on. Tempest on the agenda. But disruptor shots flung out, and there's not much of a ground army at all. There's not that many liberators, but they're doing terrible, terrible damage to the stalkers, and there's not enough left over. The DT is coming towards the third. Will blink away just barely in time, and the ground army moves to intercept. There's not enough on the ground here to ward away all of MaxPax's. Though it's just stalkers, disruptors, and one very conspicuous Colossus. Liberator slightly out of position. Disruptor shot, looking to catch. Only finds an SCV, but wards away the rest of the army. Here comes MaxPax again, refilling. Looking for more, but the Liberators are sieged up in a Venn diagram of freedom. But the DT's in towards the fourth base. Will slip away the missile turret and the planetary enough. More disruptor shots. Not quite landing on the Marauders, but he's picking off Liberators with each one. Another curveball. Chunks the point home. Vikings on deck, and MaxPax is powering through. Where are the Liberators? There's not enough of them. MaxPax still near 200 supply. Clem down to 140. The DT's doing their job. They're on top of the planetary. It looks like he'll save it. Just barely. Another planetary under fire. Clem up against the ropes. Another Liberator targeted. The DT, well, the Disruptors will take out MaxPax's Zealots, but he's still got 2,600 in the bank. Minerals and gas. The fadeaway shots find a huge hit on the Marauders. And right now, Clem has 2 Marauders and 10 Medivacs to heal them with. Tries to dodge some shots, but there's just too many Disruptor shots. An endless deluge of constant incinerating purification novas in the Liberators overhead, but they can't cover everything. And that means MaxPax will take it 3-1 in a maximum action-packed Terran versus Protoss series. MaxPax does what he couldn't in the European regional. Well, I think in the regional finals, Clem had the right idea. Hit him hard and fast. Otherwise, MaxPax just keeps control of the situation. He's able to dictate the pace of the game. He's able to keep Clem from sprinting around the entire map. And the DTs, the real MVPs in this series. The Disruptors get the job done, but the Dark Templar opened up that opportunity. So MaxPax with a confident and well-played victory. Clem, not quite able to keep up today. And I look forward to the next one. I hope you do as well. I hope this made your day just a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free. For now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.